Good evening, everybody. Today is Monday, January the 15th, and you're watching FCN Prime News here on the Fifth Column Network. I'm Trezene, editor of FCN1, home of news, politics, and business, and your news anchor for this evening. For those who may be joining us for the very first time, welcome. Here at FCN Prime News, we aim to bring you your news from a perspective that matters to you. No narratives, no fake news, just the facts and all of the facts. Tonight will be no different as I cover crime as well as current events and international news, which today will include the false alarm in Hawaii this weekend where many families thought they were going to die by missile attack, and a huge trans debate that's happening in the UK amongst women in politics and amongst feminist activists. But first, today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, a day to reflect on the work of Dr. Martin Luther King, his legacy, and how well we've done as a nation and as a people in accomplishing the dream he so eloquently shared with the world in 1963. It is my hope that we truly look at the evolution of King's work versus just repeating the same old clips and sound bites that circulate in the mainstream year after year. It is also my hope that we review the work of other Black civil rights activists that can provide meaningful context to King's words and his actions. It is all to be considered on this day, nearly 50 years since his death, as Black people continue to struggle with integration and inclusion alongside with identity and community. Happy MLK Day, and if you did anything today to commemorate his work and legacy, let us know. You know where to do it. Put it in the comments. Just a reminder, as we're talking about comments, the Fifth Column Network continues to make a name for itself for bringing you guys live programming each and every week. And you know what we look forward to. We look forward to being live so that you guys can interact with us in those comments. So today's show will be no different. We look forward to hearing from y'all because, like we say, your comments can definitely change the direction of a conversation and provide a point of view for everyone to consider. So I will be sure to read your comments at the end of every broadcast moving forward. So please, please, please don't forget to leave your comments. With that said, everybody go ahead and hit that share button that appears in this broadcast to invite your friends and your followers to get in on this conversation as well, because Martin Luther King would definitely be in support of that. All right, let's go ahead and get into this crime and justice news. In Springfield, Missouri, a former middle school football coach has been convicted of abducting and killing a 10-year-old girl and given the death penalty. The judge sentenced this man, 49-year-old Craig Wood, for the 2014 death of 10-year-old Haley Owens. The details of this murder are absolutely horrific. Little Haley was walking along a street when Wood pulled her into his truck as witnesses looked on horrified. He did this in broad daylight. Some witnesses ran on foot after him, and even one got into a vehicle to chase his truck, but lost sight of it. Prosecutors say Wood raped this little girl before taking her to his basement and shooting her. Her body was later found in that basement. She was essentially tortured for the last 45 minutes of her life. Woods was convicted of first-degree murder in November, but the jury couldn't decide whether to sentence him to death or just give him life in prison without parole. The judge had no issues slamming him with the death penalty. He said there was death of innocence in this case, and that justifies hitting you with the death penalty. This judge has since denied requests from Wood's attorneys where they were seeking a new trial, calling the death sentence unconstitutional. He has denied those requests. And for Woods, as far as he's concerned, good riddance. Speaking of sentencing, I wish this Indiana couple would have gotten the death penalty as well in a disturbing case of child molestation. In December, a jury found Lisa Colbert guilty on 16 counts, ranging from child molesting to incest to performing sexual conduct in the presence of a minor. The victims range, and I say victims, range between ages 3 and 8 years old. Her husband, Jason Colbert, was charged with the molestation and rape of these children on multiple occasions between 1997 and 2010. Prosecutors say his wife knew about the abuse, but didn't stop it. In one case, she caught her husband having sex with one of the young victims and failed to intervene. Instead, she glared at her husband and then left, slamming the door, according to court documents. Prosecutors say that the husband took a plea deal and thus was sentenced to 103 years with 75 years to be served. 5 years of work release, and 15 years of supervised probation. His wife, she took her chances at trial, so she got 142 years. So basically, they're going to die in jail. So why not just go ahead and spare them with all that time and give them the death penalty? They've robbed many children of their innocence, yes? Yes. Speaking of couples who choose to bond over a life of crime, down south in Louisiana, a couple is accused of attempting to rob an Uber driver using an innovative strategy where the woman would distract the driver by being topless. 24-year-old Anthony Kennedy and his girlfriend, 22-year-old Raina Fios, were arrested Saturday for doing the absolute most to get a few dollars. The driver told police that he gave his telephone number to the woman when she hailed a ride. Dumb move against Uber policy. The woman then called him and asked him to come over, and he did. Wrong move against all common sense. The driver said that when Fios opened the door, she was topless, and she grabbed his arms, pulled him to her chest, and kissed him with lots of tongue, including biting it. It was all a distraction, of course, because when she finally let the man go from the embrace, the boyfriend was waiting with a knife, telling him to hand over all of his money. When the driver refused, he got punched in the mouth. I can't make this up. The couple has been charged with several offenses, including armed robbery. I feel like this is one of those stories that should be on a show about dumb criminals because everyone should know that Uber drivers don't carry cash. Since we're talking about crimes in Louisiana, here's another. A former postal worker has pleaded guilty this week after admitting he burned mail instead of delivering it. Mark Wayne Thompson, age 50, pleaded guilty to 1 count of delay or destruction of mail by a postal employee. Thompson admitted that instead of delivering this mail, he took it home, he burned it, and he said that he did this from December 1st, 2016 until May 1st, 2017. For an entire 5 months, he burned 20 tubs of mail. The story doesn't give any other details, but I can only wonder how your job must be when instead of calling in sick, you just burn up your work so you don't have anything to do. Thompson faces up to 5 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and a $250,000 fine. His sentencing is set for April 6th of this year. Speaking of getting sick, Facebook continues to get the heat for being a toxic wasteland that isn't good for our society. And this past week, the main person out on the lecture circuit shouting this to the rooftops is the last person you'd think. It's Mark Zuckerberg's former mentor and advisor. His name is Roger McNamee, and he's written articles published by Washington Monthly, The Washington Post, and The Guardian in the last week that accused Facebook of ignoring bad actors who manipulates its platform for harming its users and for spreading fake news. McNamee says the problem cannot be fixed by hiring contractors to review problematic posts. He claims that Facebook needs to take much more aggressive action, which should include the approach of changing the priorities of its algorithms and completely retooling its business model. He wrote in the Washington Monthly that he flagged misinformation around the U.S. presidential elections to Facebook in early 2017, and that the firm did not take his concerns seriously at all. McNamee said Zuckerberg should appear before U.S. Congress to justify Facebook's, quote, refusal to accept responsibility, unquote, for harming its users. It should be noted that McNamee is an early investor of Facebook, and he was key in advising Zuckerberg to not sell Facebook to Yahoo in 2006. Kind of question his motives there. Meanwhile, while Facebook figures out how it can still make money and be less toxic, the nation's largest drugstore chain is taking yet another step to reduce its harm on the general public. CVS has made an unprecedented move by announcing that it will no longer promote its beauty store brands with photoshopped images. Right, exactly. CVS will also require its other makeup and beauty brands that want to sell its products in its stores to commit to photo manipulation ban by 2020 or face having an alert label placed on the images. With some 9,600 stores nationwide, CVS is one of the nation's largest sellers of beauty products, giving the company significant influence over makeup marketing. CVS Pharmacy's president said the decision reflects an acknowledgement that unrealistic body images are a significant driver of health issues, especially among women. About 80% of CVS's customers are indeed women. CVS made a similar move in the interest of the general public in 2014, you all may remember that, when it announced that it would no longer sell cigarettes and other tobacco products in its stores, which are the cause of rising health costs, disease, and death. Over the weekend, the residents of Hawaii went into a panic after a missile warning was dispatched to every single cell phone and emergency system on this Saturday morning. According to a timeline released by the state of Hawaii, the alert, which is pictured here, was triggered at 8:07 a.m. local time when during an internal drill, an employee hit the wrong button and for 13 minutes it went uncorrected until the Emergency Management Agency sent an update on social media. A number of people have relayed their experience on social media after receiving the incorrect message, telling the stories of near panic, comforting their children while worried about loved ones, and a lot of confusion and uncertainty from officials. But what folks have criticized most is the White House's reaction to the error. Trump sent a tweet nearly 3 hours later about hashtag fake news, which had nothing to do with the alert. Nothing. Much later, the White House issued a statement that essentially said Trump and the White House had nothing to do with Hawaii's state business. How they are unable to see that Trump's very recent nuclear war banter with the North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un, required Trump to make an immediate statement after the residents got that notice, I'll never understand. They are simply blinded by idiocy. In international news, speaking of threats of utter destruction, countries abroad have seen natural disaster in the last 2 days, namely a rumbling Philippine volcano eruption and a deadly earthquake in Peru. Yesterday morning, a deadly magnitude 7.1 earthquake struck off the coast of southern Peru. The earthquake left one person dead and dozens injured as infrastructure collapsed all around them as a result of the shaking. Local authorities fear the earthquake may have damaged some of the many copper mines in the prolific copper mining region of Peru, but there have been no reports of damage to the mines and luckily no reports of any trapped miners. Damage to roads and homes were the most common and made emergency response difficult to the affected regions in Peru. Despite the earthquake originating in the ocean, there was no tsunami produced from the earthquake. Thank God. In the Philippines, however, there is ongoing threat from Mount Mayon, its most active volcano, and a string of active volcanoes. Signs have been pointing to a recent awakening of activity within the volcano, prompting officials to force nearly 15,000 people to evacuate the area yesterday afternoon. Currently, lava flows from the volcano after a gentle eruption earlier this morning. However, the Philippine Institute of Seismology is continuing to warn everyone that there is an increased prospect of hazardous eruption within weeks or even days. While the stories of natural disaster are happening with increased frequency in our world, so are the debates with regard to the transgendered in our society. In the UK, accusations of transphobia have led to bitter divisions within the UK's Labour Party and the Women's Equality Party, feminist and anarchist movements when Lily Madigan, a 19-year-old who is a transgendered girl, won a vote to become Labour Party's first women's officer from a transgender background. Many women are angry that a biological man has won a seat by being able to be on the short list reserved for women to ensure the inclusion of women in UK's politics. This debate is heated, so much so that some activists in the UK Labour Party have set up a crowdfunding campaign to pay for a legal challenge aimed at keeping trans women from appearing on all women candidate shortlists. Right. Despite widespread criticism, the campaign has raised over £8,000, which in just a few days, which is a little over $11,000 in US dollars. We all know the core issue in this debate. Are transgendered women women and allowed to represent biological women? Or are they still men who can still enjoy the privileges of being a man? Or are they just best referred to as transgendered women, a class unto themselves for reasons being highlighted by this UK debate. Whew. All I know is that this issue is one to watch. What do you guys think about that? Leave your thoughts in the comments. And while we're talking about UK's political business, in our final story, over the weekend, another UK political party has suspended the membership of its leader's girlfriend over racist remarks about Meghan Markle. In the Mail on Sunday, a newspaper in UK reported that the 25-year-old Joe Marnie made offensive comments about Markle and black people. She described the biracial actress as a dumb little commoner and said her seed will taint the royal family and pave the way for a black king. She also made sure to mention that she thinks black people are pretty ugly. The party leader, Henry Bolton, made a video statement earlier today saying that he doesn't defend Marnie's comments whatsoever and indicated he has since split with his girlfriend. He didn't seem too emotionally torn by the split, and it turns out it's because the split wasn't that hard of a decision. He and Marnie have only been dating since Christmas. Right. Yeah, she's 25, he's like 80. Anyway, all right, so if you've got any comments about these stories, leave your comments in the comments. I'll definitely read those at the end of the broadcast. But now we're going to head over to sports with our sports guy at J. Co.
Hey everybody, this is J. Co. Follow me at J. Co. is it. And now, the top story from our FCN2 sports desk. Now, y'all know I don't like really talking about the NFL unless I'm bashing them. But, well, kind of got to talk about this weekend in the NFL. First of all, the Minnesota Vikings. That catch, that game was pretty exciting. So, Minnesota Vikings receiver Stephon Diggs caught a pass, 3rd and 10, 61 yards with no seconds left on the clock. He got a touchdown. The pass was thrown with about a couple seconds on the clock. As he was in the 5-yard line, heading towards the goal, the clock went to 0. Touchdown, and the Minnesota Vikings beat the Saints, the New Orleans Saints, to make it to the next round, the NFC Championship game, where they will face the Philadelphia Eagles. On the other side of the NFL bracket, we have the Patriots, New England, perennial New England Patriots, however, facing the Jacksonville Jaguars, who upset the Steelers in a very high-scoring game, 45-42. The Jaguars, the Eagles, and the Vikings, their combined record last season was 18-30. The best record out of the three of them, with the Vikings, were at 8-8. And this year, all three of them are going to the championship game, possibly going to the Super Bowl. Now, I will, if the New England Patriots don't make it to the Super Bowl, which I know that they will, I will watch the Super Bowl. And you know I've been boycotting this league for 2 years. But if the Patriots lose, they won't. I'm going to watch that Super Bowl. If the Patriots don't win the Super Bowl.
Get it right, man.
If the Patriots don't win the Super Bowl, you will see me in a video. I'll probably come on the sports desk after the Super Bowl sporting several of the NFL's brand's top sponsors, which I boycott all of them. So I'll be on a Verizon phone. I'll be drinking a Budweiser beer. I'll be eating a Subway sandwich, something like that. I am so confident that this storyline is just a set us all up for disappointment. I'm just going to move on. Screw the NFL. Speaking of screwing the NFL, the Times-Picayune, which is a New Orleans newspaper, had this as their actual headline: expletive, expletive, expletive. Boy, they were crushed from that loss. But, I mean, it's a good storyline. Minnesota's possibly going to Minnesota, which is where the Super Bowl is. So, hurrah, huzzah for them. And in other news, see, now you guys know that now that I addressed the NFL, I got to make up for it. So I got 2 football stories. All right, first, French referee Tony Chaperon kicked Brazilian player, now the player is Brazilian, but he plays for a French team, Diego Carlos, then kicked him out of the game during a match between Paris Saint-Germain and Nantes on Sunday. It was incidental contact between the ref and the player, causing them to tumble. We have a little video if you want to go ahead and roll that. It caused them to tumble. The ref did a full-on Cobra Kai sweep the leg against Diego Carlos. Play that video. Watch it here. Kind of crazy. Yeah? Okay, sweep the leg. So, of course, the referee got into a little bit of trouble. He has been banned until further investigation, of course. He did make a statement. The referee apologized for the incident. During the match, Nantes PSG, I was knocked over by Diego Carlos, a player with Nantes. At the moment of impact, I felt a sharp pain where I had recently suffered an injury. My unfortunate reaction was to stick my leg out towards the player. This clumsy gesture was inappropriate. I don't think it was very clumsy. I think it was pretty pointed, but, so I want to apologize following this action. The other interesting thing is the ref actually gave the player after that a yellow card, which was his second, which means he'll be suspended for the next game. However, to make up for it, the referee has appealed the yellow card, hoping to withdraw it so Diego Carlos can actually play in the next game. And in our final story, again, on football, according to CNN, which is where I read the story, but of course they got it from Great Britain's newspapers, Cyril Regis, who was a pioneer of British football. He was kind of like the Jackie Robinson of British football. He died at the age of 59 of an apparent heart attack. So Regis was one of the first black players to actually get on a professional team in Great Britain. I was reading the article, and it said that Regis was sent a bullet in the past after he was selected to play for England. And then it went on to say that he was capped 5 times by England between 1982 and 1987. Now I'm saying, okay, wait, they gave him a bullet and then they used that bullet to cap him? Apparently in the football world, you all know it as soccer, capping is a British term meaning if a player gets selected to play on an international team, it's a symbolic capping. They don't actually get capped or get a cap, but it's a symbolic like a hat, a cap. And he got 5 of those over that time period. So he was a really good player. Everyone said he was an excellent person. He was one of those people that will go out and endure racist chants, obviously death threats, in order to, try and blaze a trail for other black players coming up. Now, we'd like to think that, as in America, England has come a long way, and yet, as Trezenae's story with Meghan Markle illustrated, maybe not so much.
No, but everybody loves England, though.
Yeah, everybody.
British accent makes them so.
It's a dignified, or if it's someone like Idris Elba, it's a sexy accent. Yeah.
Is that what that is?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You know it. Hello, I played Stringer Bell. I've been watching The Wire. Anyway, that is all for sports from Jaco. I think I better get off now while I'm ahead. If I am ahead, I might be breaking even. I appreciate y'all tuning in. We going back to Trey so she can close out this show? Yeah, because I shouldn't be closing this show. Trey, take it away.
All right, y'all. That's it for today. If you haven't followed the Fifth Column Network on Facebook, follow us on YouTube at the Fifth Column Network. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at FCN_Prime. You can find me on social media at Trezenae. Everywhere you want to find me, you can hit me up for conversation there as well. FCN Prime News will be back with you guys on Thursday, but tomorrow will be the premiere of a new pregame show. It will be the pregame show for Black Lightning. Woohoo! Right, hosted by at the Revolution. So for all of you, please tune in for that pregame show. We'll definitely put some stuff out there so that you can see exactly what time that comes on. And on Wednesday will be another pregame show hosted by yours truly for American Crime Story, the assassination of Gianni Versace. You will not want to miss it. All right, with that, I'm Trezene. Thank you for watching Prime News on the Fifth Column Network. I will see you guys next Thursday at 7 p.m. ish.